Welcome to The Providers, brought to you by SmokingIt.com. It's the new year. Just excited that peak season's over and ready to get back at it with you guys. We got a great episode coming up for you. Greg asked me all about my Ohio hunt from this last year, and I get to explain that setup, so that's pretty cool. We have a video that I got to kind of shock Greg with. Can't wait for you guys to hear it and see what unfolds with that.
That was insane.
And our viewer question this week was very intriguing, and we kind of dug deep on that. So stick around, check it out. Thanks for checking back in with us here at The Providers.
And when you say peak season is finally over and you're excited, you better be talking about UPS and not hunting.
Like leaving boot prints in the mud. As that crisp morning air stands up your neck of hair and your adrenaline starts to flood. When you're a provider, you understand the things the woods can do. How you can lose yourself in the things that you love, but you can find yourself in them too. Yeah, with a hard working, hard hunting, freeze a fair land providers. Yeah, with a hard working, hard hunting, freeze a fair land providers.
Who doesn't love making a delicious meal for their family? Smoking It Smokers allow you to do just that. Simply set the settings and walk away, only to come back hours later to have a delicious meal waiting for you. Smoking It Smokers, when only the best will do.
Dude, it has been way too long. Like, it's been 3 or 4 weeks, I think, since I've even seen your face, let alone had you in the studio here on a podcast with me. So
yeah, my wife says the same thing. I've been gone so much work, and my kids have been calling me randomly through the day. It's been a little crazy. So I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but Steve's a UPS driver, so obviously Christmas time is like insanity, I'm guessing, right? Oh yeah, it's crazy. We call it peak season for a reason. So yeah, it's crazy.
And that picks up like Black Friday and just keeps going, or how does that work?
And then it's just ramps up real quick. We'll have driver helpers that are, and they'll just stack a ton of deliveries on us, and it just gets crazy. So it's just nonstop. It's 6 days a week. Usually they stop us at 60 hours a week, and this year they extended it to 70, and it was just like, keep going. So
make that money, baby.
Yeah, the money's good while it's here. So it's been good though. So,
well, it's great to have you back finally. I know people have probably missed you. I don't know. I missed you just a little bit, but so Happy New Year to everybody. I mean, this is
Happy New Year,
first podcast of 2026. So
it's awesome.
But
hey, I brought you a special treat. It's a little coffee.
Oh, look at you.
So my wife is, Renee is a coffee freak, I'll say. You have to push a button.
How do I drink
There's
it?
a little button right here.
Oh, button.
By the way, these are awesome for hunting.
Yeah,
it's a Stanley. We're not sponsored by anything, but
maybe soon to be.
You push this little button. This thing is so awesome to have in the woods with you. Try that coffee.
All right, what is that?
So, you're going to laugh at me. What that is a really expensive coffee maker. So, Renee did all this research. She loves her coffee. And for her birthday, which was in December 1st, I got her this coffee maker. And it's, I think it's an espresso, I guess. But
it tastes kind of.
It's like a 2-shot espresso thing. I don't know, but it's phenomenal. I'm not even that much of a coffie guy, but these I love them.
So you just like push a button and it makes this. You didn't have to mix it, do anything to it.
Wow,
because that tastes like Starbucks.
No, it So the brand is a Ninja.
Okay.
Obviously, that means it's expensive. But She buys actually the coffee beans, puts them in, and it grinds it specific to each cup of coffee that's being made. So it's so technical and crazy that you have to test your water, and it grinds that cup of coffee to your specific water type. It's crazy,
dude. That's amazing though.
Yeah,
Thank
it's phenomenal.
you.
So,
and the thermos is awesome. Thanks, man.
yeah, this thermos is so key in the woods. Like, I love this thing. It packs well. You just push the little button.
I like that it's skinny.
Yeah.
And like we said, we're not sponsored by Stanley. I'm just looking at this thing, but I do like that it's skinny, so it fits in like your cup holders or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks.
It's been good.
So, dude, we haven't had you on the show, and we haven't seen you on the show since Ohio episodes, and you actually killed a deer in Ohio, right?
Yeah.
And I want to hear all about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we get to that,
oh boy,
during this season, I had a buddy of mine, which has become a buddy of mine. It's actually Sam's lacrosse coach. Super good guy, big outdoorsman. He sent me a video. He called me and said, "Have you ever experienced or heard anything like this?" And he was trying to get my opinion on it. And I was pretty blown away by it, and I wanted to get your opinion on it.
All right.
You've never seen this before.
Nope, you just sent it to me.
Just want to get your gut reaction of what is going on here.
All right, you ready?
Let's do this.
You gotta be kidding me. This is in Michigan?
Yeah.
Dude, it sounds like a bear.
Isn't that crazy?
That is so crazy. Is that like...
So, that was 2 bucks fighting. And 1 buck took the other buck down and was basically goring it in the side, and then eventually that buck finally gets up and they go at it again, and then eventually they both take off. But
so is that the sound of the winner or the loser? Do you know?
I don't even know. I think that was the sound of the winner, but that is insane.
That is the biggest buck roar I've ever heard. Like, it sounded like a bear. I mean, I've heard much smaller versions of that maybe once, but for it to do it over and over again, that's just
it reminded me.
Insane.
It reminded me of that hunt that you talked about where you saw that huge fight in that.
Yeah.
That it put that deer down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like that roar, if I was just sitting in the woods and heard that and didn't know that it was a buck, right. I would send a crew to look for Bigfoot.
Well,
that's crazy.
Right? Well, and that's, I mean, obviously you would assume it's the dominant buck that's doing that, but it almost sounded painful too. That's why I was like, is it the wounded buck that's making that noise or what? But that's crazy. that's insane.
Yeah. I thought that was something that I just wanted to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, never in my life have I heard anything that extreme. That's for sure. But holy smokes!
If anybody else out there has experienced that, let us know.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
If anybody else has video of that, I want to see it. So, all right. So Ohio, bring me back.
Okay, Ohio.
What was the date? Do you remember? Because I wasn't with you. So
November 7th.
November 7th. Okay.
That was the day I killed him. So yeah.
So I'm going to build into this just a little bit. Matt and I stayed about an hour and a half, 2 hours north at the property that we had the encounter with the gigantic deer last year. Mm-hmm. But this year we stayed there the whole time. We never did make it down to hunt all the way down at the cabin. We went down filming the podcast, but we did all of our hunting about 2 hours north of you. So give me a little build up as far as what you did prep wise on that piece of property this year.
So this deer actually, not the deer itself, but the location and the prep for it actually came 2 years ago. So it was basically a 2-year project. So on that property, he has the cabin. There's 30 acres behind the cabin or so. Mm-hmm. And then there's a chunk on the other side of the road, which is 8 acres. We always call it the 8. Well,
because we're creative.
Yeah. So this 8 acres is like, to get to it, there's an actual cliff drop off at one point of the property, but he has a little access road that switchbacks down the hill, and it's just purely a drop off.
It's steep.
And
if it's muddy, you're falling.
And for years, I've always loved that 8. For whatever reason, I've really liked that 8. And there's a big hardwoods behind it. The neighbor, he's got 80 acres. He passes up a lot of nice bucks and has encounters with some monsters.
Well, so, what was his quote this year? What did he tell you?
He said, and we'll get to this, but we'll bring this up again hopefully. But we saw him in passing, and he said that he passed up a 140 because if you shoot a Pope and Young, you'll never get that Boone and Crockett. So
yeah.
He was
just to give you an idea of what the neighbor is. So.
Yeah, so he's only shooting big bucks, but. So Matt has this tree stand down there that he's had for years. He shot a 140 class buck out of it. That was the one he picks on me about with the biggest scrape of my life was down on the 8. And then he went in and he shot that buck. Well, his stand is actually in a great location. It's just one of those things where you just have a feeling every time you sit in it that you're not quite in the right spot. And I know of anybody, you'll understand that, Greg, because...
And I also know that you're notorious for being like, I need to be 10 trees over this way.
Yeah. I get real picky on that.
I will say we all agreed on this, though.
Yeah.
On what you're going to say. Yep.
So the tricky part about that is you have that drop off. So the wind, the thermals, everything are crazy down there. So the wind switches all the time, all that stuff. I had to get used to that environment. On top of that, it has a drop off, and then that particular stand that he has is kind of in a bowl of its own. Like there's a little... Once you get used to the terrain there, you don't even think about it being dropped into a bowl anymore because everything is hilly anyways. But there is a little bowl, and there's a natural run on top of that bowl and around the side. And then there's a real thick hardwoods, but there's pines and a thicket like right next to that bowl. That is just off of the property line, that thicket is. Mm-hmm. So that's not huntable. But you've brought it up in podcasts before where it's that transition. So that transition area is always a hot, good zone. So if you can find that, because once you get into that 8 acres, it's then more of that mature hardwoods where it's opened up more, where you can see a little bit further. Mm-hmm. There's some thickets and stuff, but it's changed a little bit over the years. But The neighbor also, the neighbor I'd already brought up, also has a food plot in the area. So I kept that in mind. Well, it was 2 years ago. We were down there. Ron hunted out of Matt's stand on one of the last days. And he said that he saw probably one of the biggest deer he's ever seen walk the edge of that bowl between that thicket, that transition, right at that transition. And there's like these little valleys. If you think about it, it's like almost little ditches, almost drainage ditches, because all the hills and stuff. There's these little ditches that go down. And he said that he saw 4 bucks that evening. One was a monster, and they all kind of followed this ditch edge and just dropped in. And from that point, I said, I got to figure this out. Like, I have to figure this area out and get in on them, you know? Because I had hunted Matt's stand a handful of times. Not a ton of times, because I go over to Steve's stand a lot. But, so every time I hunted it, it seemed like they were skirting the edges of where that thicket is and just out of range with a bow. So we went down there 2 springs ago.
Yep.
Remember going down there?
Yeah.
And we had chainsaws and weed whackers and clippers, and we were like, we're going to clean this property up. And it was awesome.
4 of us, yeah.
We went down there and kicked butt. Like, we took basically 1 full day and just did nothing but work on that property. Cleaned up both sides of the road from his property, trimming lanes, doing all that stuff. So we're down on the 8 acres, trimming this other spot out.
And kind of an overgrown food plot.
Right. And it was almost I was putting everything that Matt wanted to get done on his property as the priority, obviously. So he set up that spot in the ravine. We cleared that out. That's all on the backside. We cleared the spot that you like out on Splitter Ridge. So then we get down on the 8 acres, and the thought was to get, he's got a big box blind on that drop off. The thought process was, if we could cut some trees down and get some lanes there, then when Sam comes down or when Matt has a kid down or anything, they could use their gun and cover a lot of that 8 acres. Well, it was pushing the envelope like right at the end of the day, and I was like, I have to go back there and check this area out one more time. And there's a major run that goes on the top of that bowl all the way back to that thicket, which would then either go into that thicket or lead over to that food plot. So we looked at it, and there is 2 huge tree trunks just right over that main path. And I'm like, man, this kind of sucks, you know, like if I could open this up, maybe I could make this a little funnel. So we took the chainsaws and we literally just cut right where that path was, enough where deer could walk through, and it worked. Like, they're using that trail major. So that was 2 years ago. Last year, we had Matt put some trail cameras on some groundscapes right behind the cabin. And he had buck after buck doing groundscapes right there. I was like, no problem, change of plans. I'm going to focus on that. Well, I did that. Then I didn't feel good, and I went to the back of the property, went to Splitter Ridge where you hunt normally, and then I shot a buck there. That was last year, so I didn't even focus or even try to hunt that 8 acres that we had put together. So this year, I was focused and hell-bent that, hey, I'm going to make this I'm gonna try this 8 acres out and make this happen. And we have saddles, you know, we hunt with the saddles and do all that stuff. And it's funny, we have a week down there, so it's like you try to come up with the best game plans as possible, and you're like, all right, so I didn't want to screw up that small little 8 acres right off the bat. So I went back to familiar territory, back behind the cabin. First morning, it's dark. I wanted to go to a familiar spot. Afternoon, I came over, and I wound up I was going to move a set of sticks. That's what I was going to do. I was going to move a set of sticks to that spot. The sticks had been left there too long, and I couldn't get them off the tree. So I hiked all the way. Like I was like, you know, in the moment, you're like, hey, I'm going to get down here early.
Right.
I'm going to get everything set up. We're going to be good. Well, then, now I've hiked all the way across, tried to grab these sticks that are kind of in the area, and that plan backfires. I could have got back up into Matt's stand, but I was just hell-bent to do this other way. Hike back up that hill, grab my portable sticks, and come down, and I set up in a spot that I thought, okay, here's their main trail. There's right there, because it's a mature woods, it's open. It's really open right there, and it's hard to find cover. It's hard to find the right tree, and you know how I am with picking a tree, and I was just freaking out. And then I was like, you know what? This tree's going to have to do, because this is the only thing I have. I think it's too close to this trail, but I'm going to try it. Like, let's just go. So I sat up there. And the advantage with the saddle is you can hide behind the tree. The tree that I was in wasn't that big. And I had action. I saw a deer come in. But I had to be real careful because I was way too close to where the traveling routes were and everything. And I had some does like stop, and like they could tell something was up. I hunted it a couple days like that, and I kept communicating to you and Matt saying, I got to change something. I got to do something. Well, I finally was like, all right. And nobody's seen, like I had seen a couple smaller bucks, a bunch of does, and no, sorry, I'm remembering everything. So I see this big 10 point, one of my first hunts down there, not chasing, just kind of slowly hounding a doe up that big hill. So that hill wraps all the way around us to the neighbors over there. Mm-hmm. He follows this doe up that huge hill, and then they just kind of pranced around up on top of that hill, and he's just a nice big 10. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm after. He's in the area. That got me motivated, and I'm like, I'm staying here until for the week. Like, this is where I'm at.
So hang on. I think this is a learning point, because this was a learning point to me, and then you just talked about it, and I know what hill you're talking about. I don't know if it's growing up in Michigan or what, but I've always had this thought in my head of what kind of a terrain a deer would navigate. Mm-hmm. And last year when I saw that 180-inch deer, that deer walked up the steepest incline. It's not walkable by a person. You had to crawl on your hands and knees and pull yourself up by tree roots to try to get up this thing. Mm-hmm. I watched that buck walk up that hill like it was absolutely nothing. And I never in my life would have thought that a deer could walk that type of a terrain straight up and down. And then I know the hill that you're talking about at Matt's, same thing. Like, prior to us going down to Ohio, never would have thought that a deer would navigate that. Am I right? You feel the same way on that?
100%.
100%. And so take that for what it's worth, because there's spots in Michigan, and Michigan's flat, where if it was a creek bank or something like that I'd look at it and go, oh, a deer would never cross that. And now I am 100% confident that really any terrain that we have here in Michigan, if a deer wants to use it, a deer is going to use it. So don't overthink that just because you have, a 6 or 8 foot drop off at a creek, or, a field edge with a drainage ditch or something like that a deer doesn't use it, because that is going to be 100% not true. And you might be surprised if you really lay eyes on it and watch it go down in real life. So,
yeah, they turn into like goats or sheep real quick.
It is amazing how easy. Yeah, it's not even a struggle.
Oh, not at all. Not at all.
So, all right.
So yeah, I have this nice buck. I'm guessing he's 130 to 140 class buck, which I'm totally excited about. Like, that's fine. And so I see them. I'm excited about it. I hunt it again, and it's just not right. It's just not quite there. So I went down with Logan midday, and we took another set of sticks down there, and then I set up on the opposite side of that trail, and there was like a down tree in front of this tree, and it's still kind of open, but that I had that little bit of cover, and then that hill is behind me, but it's probably like another 80 yards, and then that hill starts going up. So that's kind of a good backdrop, though, if something is down below me, and everything is gradually down. So now I'm up a little bit higher. I'm not in their main path where they would naturally be looking, from what I think. So I hunt that, and now I can wrap behind this tree perfect, and everything is right. Everything is just the way it should be. And I know we've been using saddles for, you started before me by a couple years, maybe.
Yeah, maybe a year or two.
And then I've been in it for 3 or 4 years, but I'm still learning. I'm still trying to learn the process, and, putting the sticks in the right spot on the tree, and putting your platform in the right spot of the tree so that you're in the right position of where you want to be. So it's still a learning curve, but this time I felt like I finally got it right, so I was comfortable. I was there. I had a good encounter with, he's either a 7 or an 8 point. He was a nice buck, probably a 120 class buck. He came in, I passed him up. And prior to even getting to that 8 acres, I stopped in and hunted with you and Matt. And I passed up a nice 8 point there too. So I had some encounters already, and things were going good. Well, I get in my spot. It's the 7th. We were leaving the 9th.
Yeah, 9th or 10th. I think, yeah.
I think the 9th. So it was getting close to the end of my week, and I'm still happy. I've had encounters. Things are good. I'm enjoying trying to figure this out. I've had that encounter with that big buck. I'm in it, So that morning, I have a small buck come out of that thicket through that transition, just exactly like you'd envision the big buck that you want. And it was just a 4 point, and he comes in, and he is literally 5 yards underneath me, rubbing this tree. And I thought it was the coolest thing. It's like little things like that are just that's fun to me. Yeah. I'm watching him. He's working this tree over, and like he's just no clue I'm even there. that makes me feel like this is money. He then came right underneath me, wanders off, everything's perfect. I'm like, this is my spot. I found it. Like, this is it. Well, then maybe 15 minutes later, maybe, from up the hill, ironically, right from probably where Matt's stand location, he probably could have shot it, you know. All of a sudden, up this hill, here he is. There's that Big 10, and he's standing right in front of me about 40 yards, and I'm like, oh, this is perfect. Grab my bow, like, everything was, I was behind the tree. I let him come in. He slowly walks through. He hits where kind of those ditches were, where I originally said the deer are right here, you know. And I shot him right before that transition. And I mean, I had wrapped back around the tree. Everything's perfect. He had no clue I was there. And I absolutely smoke him. But it's that instinct of, oh no, like, did I hit him good? I think I hit him good, because he went into that thicket and then just stood there for what seemed forever, but it was probably 30 seconds. And he's standing there, and I'm trying to see him, and it's real thick. And then it looked like he just moseyed off. And to me, that was like, oh no, I just gut shot this deer. Because usually you and Todd had talked about this, like, you get a gut shot deer, he wasn't hunched up or anything, but he didn't go very far. They don't want you. If you get punched in the gut, you're not going to want to go for a run, you know. Mm-hmm. So he went 20 yards, stopped, and then he moseyed off, and I didn't hear a crash. So I'm super excited, but I'm still like, did I mess this up?
Right.
So I get a hold of Jay. We come up with a game plan. And once I texted the group, you guys said that there's a storm coming. Jay let me know there's a storm coming. It's this front, mm-hmm. which probably helped with the deer movement.
I was going to say, probably why you killed him.
Right. So we're talking a matter of within the hour, this storm is probably going to hit. Mm-hmm. So that's like, just like, you know, my rule, you know,
right.
I shoot a deer. If I see it go down, great. If I don't, I'm going to stay in that stand for 20, 30 minutes before I get down. Then I'm going to take 2 hours, you know, so it's like a 2.5 hour ordeal, you know. Mm-hmm. I still stayed in the stand probably 20 minutes, texting with you guys to figure out a game plan, texting with Jay. I get down, I go up, I wasn't gonna, but I couldn't resist. I went over and looked at the arrow. Arrow looked good. And then head up. So I get up there, Jay's got everything ready, and he's got the quad, he's got a sled, and he's like, we gotta go get him. And I'm like, man, I don't know. And he's saying, there's rain coming. You're going to lose this deer if we don't go. So right. I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's like rocking a hard place, you know?
Yeah.
So we go down, and we took the quad down the hill, but then we kept it back so that we weren't going to disturb things. We walked real quiet back to where I was at, and then literally had the conversation of, okay, we're going to take things real slow. We're going to be real quiet. We're not going to talk the entire time. Jay's like, I'm just going to mark blood, and I'll keep looking when I'm marking blood, I'll be looking in case he jumps up or something like that. I'm like, okay. So we have this game plan. We tracked just through this little ditch up into that thicket. I could see where he was standing. I could see a bunch of blood. I was like, all right, we're good. And then I literally just looked up, and he's laying like 30 yards from there. So
that's crazy.
It was awesome. So it worked out perfect.
He's a good deer.
Yeah, he's a good deer.
He's a real good deer. So, a couple things that I would take away from that hunt is, number one, we used to get busted down there so bad because the wind swirled. Like, you're right. You're in a gigantic bowl, and you couldn't beat the wind down there. If the wind was coming out of the east, at some point during your hunt, it was going to come out of the north, and then it was going to come out of the south, and like it was all over the place. So I would say our ozone has been a huge game changer for being able to hunt down there.
Definitely.
And then that transition piece, because I know what you're talking about, like it's a great transition spot between a couple of bedding areas that deer are naturally going to travel, especially the first week in November. Those bucks are going to be cruising it. And then, you know, the fact that you've got the deer down there because you've got neighbors that aren't shooting small deer.
Right.
Which was huge too. So it's kind of cool that there've been a couple deer shot on the 8, but I feel like this was the first deer shot on the 8 that a full plan came together, and maybe it's starting to get figured out, and it's not just the luck of being in the right place at the right time kind of thing. So so yeah, dude, that was awesome. We were so excited when Matt and I got the message. Of course, we weren't shocked because Steve kills a deer every year we go down to Ohio.
Not every year.
Pretty much every year. So
I hate that I get heckled over that, but you know I love it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. So that was awesome. Steve was the only one this year that killed a buck.
It was hard hunting this year. Like
it was,
everybody talked about it in the whole Midwest. That it was a rough season. Like there wasn't very many,
and we weren't.
I don't know, very many sightings. Very many, you know. And
we weren't in the big EHD area down in Ohio. I mean, we were well west of it. Maybe there were a couple deer seen locally, but as far as like good buck encounters went, you know, like I said, Matt and I were hunting 2 hours north. Jay, Logan, and Steve are hunting down, you know, south, and we just didn't see mature bucks like we have in the past. I think the biggest buck that I saw the entire week was under 100 inches. It was insane because on that property, at any given time last year, you could see 150 inches plus. And that was multiple deer that we had on camera even this spring, and never saw them. And then these guys were running into the same stuff, you know, down by the cabin. So yeah, no real rhyme or reason to it, but it was a tough season. And I was kind of the same thing up here. Like Callie shot that doe, which filled the freezer, which then I was like, oh, I'm going to trophy hunt only. And, I still never saw a buck that piqued my interest enough that I wanted to pull the trigger even back here in Michigan. So yeah, kind of a down year for me. Had a lot of fun and got out a bunch of times, but it wasn't super productive. But yeah, so I've got a letter from our video viewer responses that people could put in, and I think this is kind of cool. I've read through it once just because I get the emails, but Steve, you have not seen this, but I think it's kind of a cool topic.
Cool. So
bear with me because this is long. This is a couple paragraphs, and it's actually got sent in from Mitch. And I laugh because I'm old enough to be like, I'm going to sound like Paul Harvey trying to read this on the radio. This is going to be like a full story. And then I'm going to look and be like, and now for the rest of the story. But yeah, so I'm going to hit this and then let's see what we can throw into this for Mitch. So, reflecting on the season, I sat down to a dinner of backstrap and baked potatoes with my wife. We discussed the meat, how it was cooked, seasoned, flavored, etc. But inevitably, the conversation turned to the topic of the harvest of the animal itself. My wife grew up in a hunting family, seeing several deer shot, dressed, cleaned, and cooked, even having shot a nice buck herself. But over this venison dinner, she described the feeling of not having a connection with hunting as her father, brothers, and I described it. She spoke of appreciation and respect for the meat and deer, but couldn't relate to the feeling of the harvest. I did my best to describe the intense drive to hunt in the preseason, the insatiable need to pursue game in the fall, and the rush of finally harvesting the deer. But it seems the message came across incorrectly. No matter how many times I tried to explain and describe the feeling of taking a deer, especially a target buck, it ultimately came across to my wife as a feeling of regret and sadness. She was stuck thinking I regretted taking the deer's life. But I could not, despite my best efforts, explain that. It's not about the stalk, it's not about the setup, it's not about the gear, it's not about the deer. It's about a nearly indescribable need to hunt and provide. I can't explain it, much less write it down. For the love of God, put this answer into words that a non-hunter can understand. I have tried for years, but my reasons and feelings fall on supportive but misunderstanding ears. Again, my wife is in full support of hunting and loves venison, but just wants to know how I feel, but I can't seem to explain it.
Wow.
That crazy?
That's a good one.
It is.
And honestly, we run across this problem all the time. I mean, I get it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great that she understands to a point. She understands that, she likes the meat. She's supportive of it. She just doesn't, she gets that bad feeling. My gut reaction is it gets down to the whole circle of life, and we can't survive without killing something.
Right.
We can't. If you're a vegetarian or a vegan, you're still killing something. And you're harvesting crops and plants, but then you're also, to produce those plants, you're killing a ton of animals as well. With me, when I'm on a hunt and it's a deer, there are times of, you feel bad, you took the life of something. But what we do is our best effort to make it as humane as possible and make it a quick, accurate hit. You don't want the deer suffering. I think I've mentioned this several times before, where it's like everything has to come together and you have to make it right. But if we don't do our job and harvest these deer or rabbits or squirrels or ducks or whatever, there are so many predators that will go ahead and do our job for us, and it'll be a way worse death for them, or starvation or any of those other things that could happen, or hit by a car. And if we have an overpopulation, there's going to be so many more car accidents with deer, which could put people at risk. The deer's a lot of times wasted. They don't do anything with the deer. So there's many different layers and factors to that. I don't know what your thoughts are.
So I think, number one, what you said, 100%. I'm the one that has the screen in front of me, so I'm reading through this as you're talking, and to me it seems like she feels like he, as a hunter, regrets taking the deer's life. And here's the way I look at it, because I know that feeling of a certain amount of sadness, and especially because you said in particular a target buck. So I'm going to go back to my 2013 deer, which is right above my head right here. And starting probably 2 years before that, I started getting trail cam pictures of that deer. So then every spring you're trying to think, well, what can I do to improve my chances to get a crack at this deer? Is it move stands? Is it make food plots? Is it change bedding areas? There's a lot of time and effort that goes into what your final goal is. And then I get to that fall and I think I have 12 or 13 encounters with this deer that I can't get a shot at it. And that continues to build the intensity and the drama of it, because you know you're getting close, but you haven't quite sealed the deal yet. And then all of a sudden you do get the chance to take the animal, and you won the battle, right? Like that's been your ultimate goal. And I think there's two different reasons I can think of that brought a certain amount of sadness to it. Number one is the fact that you just took something's life that you've been thinking of for years, possibly, if it's a target. Maybe it's only been a target for a year, but I had probably 3 years of experience with this deer. And there's a certain amount of sadness to that, because you think about that animal and that target and that goal a lot over that course of time. And now you know that story has come to an end. And then that's the other part of it is, not only the sadness of taking their life, but it's the sadness of achieving the goal and knowing that the book is closed, I guess, putting a final period at the end of a chapter. And there's that ultimate feeling of accomplishment, because there's no greater high than when you do accomplish that. But at the same time, knowing that now you gotta move on to the next. You gotta find what your new target's going to be, or what your new goal's going to be, and kind of hit the reset button and start over again. But that's the reason that we do this, though, is we love it. We think about it 24/7. We make goals for ourselves. We make plans for ourselves. Our friends get involved in it, and we get to spend time with them doing what we love to do. And then I think it's just that mixed emotion. It's that super, super high, followed by that thought process of, oh crap, this is done. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's the best way I can describe it.
Let me hit on the other side of it. So for a non-hunter, they will think of just the moment of truth, and that's all they're thinking of, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they will think, how can you be excited? How is there this excitement element to this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you get, like, I remember I'm always like the shaky hand,
mm-hmm.
and your adrenaline's pumping and everything's going. It's because of the build up to that, to be able, it's wild game. So anything can happen. We don't have any control over what this animal's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
That is the excitement factor, is everything has to align perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
If you sat and waited and waited and waited for something to happen, and then you put the hours and hours in the stand with nothing going on, and then for that one opportunity to hit, it's huge. It's this crazy adrenaline rush excitement, and that's natural. You know, like, how many hours did you put in the stand this year in Ohio alone? Just for that 1 week?
Just shy of 40 hours, I think, for
40 hours.
Yep.
Did not shoot a deer.
Yep.
Did not get the opportunity.
Yep.
And just put that relentless amount of time in.
Hoping for that 15 seconds.
So you're going to tell me when a deer actually comes in, the moment of truth, everything lines up perfect,
mm-hmm.
that you're not just going to be ecstatic?
Right.
Of course you are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, absolutely. You know, so
I think you talked about the odds of it happening, and what I found myself telling Callie numerous times this year is you're hunting an animal that can literally walk anywhere that it wants to in the world, right? Nothing's holding a deer into staying in our county, in our property, in our state. They're wild animals. They can walk wherever they want to walk, and you're trying to put them in basically a 40-yard circle. If you can shoot 20 yards each direction all the way around you, you're trying to put that target animal inside a 40-yard circle that can literally walk anywhere that it wants to in the world. Like, that's an incredible accomplishment, number one. So the odds are already stacked against us. And then all those hours of like you said, sitting and waiting, to the point that there are plenty of times that I will sit in a tree and be like, this sucks.
yeah,
Right? Like,
100%.
Like, it's not all fun and glamorous and amazing. Like, there are plenty of times that you're sitting there going, this sucks. But like anything else, if I want to achieve my goals, then I need to battle through it. Right. So, and I think you just made a good point, Steve, that, I think when a non-hunter, no matter if their family's involved in it or not, thinks about what they're consuming as far as wild game, to them, the story starts with, I killed that animal, right? So for Mitch, I feel like in Mitch's wife's eyes, the story starts when Mitch sends her a text message or a phone call and says, oh my gosh, I just killed my target buck, right? That's point one for her. Where to Mitch, the story starts so far beyond that almost where his story ends is where her story starts. Does that make sense?
Right.
Because to me, I love eating the animal. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the fact that I get to eat the animal afterwards. But every time I sit down and have venison, I don't think to myself about that hunt. It was kind of like the chapter was done once I got that animal field dressed and out of the woods. So we're almost talking about two different stories that you're trying to make butt up to each other so that everybody understands it, is kind of the way I guess I'm looking at it as we sit here and talk about it. But
I also think it's funny. Everyone loves being the middleman, the person that they're just getting the benefits of everything that goes on. So you go to a restaurant and you have a steak. Are you sad? Are you sad that you're eating a steak right at that moment? Are you sad every time you go to a fast food restaurant, go to McDonald's or Burger King or Taco Bell or whatever? Are you thinking of the meat that's involved with that? Are you thinking of the animals that are involved with that at all? You know what I mean? So, like, I think that is just straight out of their mind. And then you say, hey, here's venison, and it, for some reason, changes the whole game for them. And they're like, whoa, that's crazy. Now I can see the person that actually took the game,
right,
processed it, like it for some reason it registers to people different. Oh, this is how we got this meal today.
Right.
And then they envision that, where everything else we eat is behind the scenes. You don't feel anything with that. It's just, that's just how it is. It just shows up on your plate. But as soon as you say, hey,
probably coming,
this is venison of something that I just shot this year.
Right.
Then it registers in people's mind like, oh my goodness, you killed this thing.
Right.
When
in reality, those wild animals probably lived a way better life than the cows and chickens and pigs that are getting, mass produced to be slaughtered.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more that goes into that, but I mean, Yeah, I understand where Mitch is coming from with maybe your significant other seeing some of the sadness involved with it or whatever because of the high emotions, and it's a roller coaster ride. And
I dealt with it with Renee, with my wife, a long time ago, where she said, I support you hunting, I support everything, do not shoot a doe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to shoot any does. I feel bad for the does. And I went along with it for a couple of years, and then I started shooting does, and once it got to the actual dinner table, she was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's the doe I shot." And she's like, "Yeah, you can keep doing that.
Yeah, we need more of that."
But if we don't control the population, like I said before, then it hurts things too. So I think it's just the circle of life.
Yep. So thanks, Mitch, for sending that one in. That was a thought provoker as far as
that's crazy,
the different emotions behind all that. But I think we're gonna wrap it up for this week. Want to thank our sponsor, Smoking It Smokers. I actually my brother-in-law got a hold of me yesterday and said, "Hey, I just drove down to Smoking It and bought a smoker from them." And I was like, "Really?" Because it's down awesome. Southern part of Michigan. My brother-in-law lives in Grand Rapids, and he started checking them out and got in touch with Steve down at Smoking It. And yeah, he drove down there yesterday, picked up a new smoker, sent me a picture already with some handmade sausages that he's got up in the smoker cooking. So yeah, pretty cool. But make sure you guys check out Smoking It. We really appreciate them being our sponsors. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. We're on all the social media stuff with Facebook, X, and Instagram. And we appreciate the heck out of you guys coming into 2026. And we'll see you guys next week.
Happy New Year.